Hi everyone, my name is Camila.
And I'm Tim.
And today we're reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Quantumania is a 2023 Marvel Cinematic Universe film that follows Scott Lang as Ant-Man in a post-Endgame world, as he, his daughter Cassie, and the entire Pym family are suddenly sucked into the quantum realm where they must battle Kang the Conqueror. So, Camila, this film really kicks off Phase 5 for the MCU. What are your thoughts on it? General ideas?
It was honestly kind of bad.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. It is like, just like the concept, it was a really basic plot, and I feel like they kind of dragged it the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling, I walked out, I was very unsatisfied, I think.
Yeah.
It was just, kind of a rocky start to the film, to the phase. I think that the story wasn't there. I think that there was a lot of, they really relied on the visual effects a lot, which were great in some places, but really just couldn't carry a film like that for me. And some of the performances were fine, but some others were shaky. So yeah, just overall, it was a very shaky film that I just didn't really have a great time with. And I think the really core foundation of that was the story. Like you said, it felt like it dragged a little bit, but then also like I felt like there was nothing really there of substance, kind of. Like, I do appreciate how they really kind of kicked you off and got you right into the action. They're in the quantum realm within like 10 minutes of the movie. And I appreciated that. That was great. And then once we were in the quantum realm, I don't know, there was a lot of world building there with like these whole new kind of creatures and people and like the areas. And it was just, it felt pretty hollow. Like, I just didn't really feel like there was anything I was connecting with. What about you?
Right, yeah, I felt the same way. It just felt so empty. Like they were relying on like this whole family thing for the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it was just dragging it. Like there was so much fighting. Like I feel like a lot of those fight scenes weren't very necessary also.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. And like a lot of the characters that they introduced, I didn't really connect with too well. I was just really focused on that core group of characters and then Kang. But the story itself, yeah, it just never felt like there was kind of any real like plot points that were kind of rising and peaking and making it like go in levels. It just felt like it was kind of the characters moving from one place to another. They're moving, they're shambling, there's nothing really driving them there. It's all that kind of one idea of getting back together, and it didn't really feel like there was anything going on until the end with that big CGI fest fight. And then again, that was just, like a 20-minute fight scene where I was kind of like, all right, now let's wrap this up. We've been going for a while.
Yeah, I kept thinking like, okay, like the fight scene's over, like it stopped, and then it just like continued with focusing on like somebody else. It was just so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the core element of this movie was the visual effects because they're in the quantum realm. So I'm curious to hear what you thought of this film relying on so much CGI and so many visual effects for it to actually function as a movie.
I honestly think it's kind of risky to do that because you're putting so much money into it just to rely on like CGI and special effects. So just for like the movie to be like 90% just green screen and CGI is really risky.
Yeah.
It was pretty good at some parts, but other parts I feel like I was able to like tell clearly that it was a green screen.
Yeah.
But overall, it was all right.
Yeah, there were some beautiful landscape shots, visuals that I was really impressed with. But then there were other moments where kind of, some moments with the characters that were pretty shaky and a little iffy. And then there was just so much of it in general throughout the film. Like you said, it was pretty much 90% visual effects in the background and for the characters. And I felt like I wasn't grounded in the movie.
Yeah.
It felt like I really kind of got lost in that, and there was no like real practical sets to kind of pull me back to reality. There were one or two sprinkled in there, but not enough to keep me grounded with the film and really paying attention. I just felt like I was getting lost in the visual effects and these colors and these shapes and everything, and I don't know, it definitely lost me a little bit there.
Same, yeah. As somebody with like a short attention span, I like completely was getting distracted by so many of the things in the background and completely lost focus of what like was happening on the screen, just because there's so much going on in the background with all the CGI and everything.
Yeah, which I understand it's the quantum realm, it's a whole new world, you've got to build these characters and these like creatures and landscapes with the visual effects. But yeah, a few more practical sets I think would have done this movie really well.
I think so too. I think also like it was just so bad. Like,
yeah,
like there are a lot of parts. I think at one point like I forgot his daughter's name, but she was like on the screen. It was just like a close up of her, and I could clearly distinguish like the line between her body and then the background. It was so weird to see it like that.
It was weird, and you think Marvel that the visual effects workers, they're working so hard, and you've got so many scenes to get through that it makes sense that they're going to drop the ball in a few scenes. Not really drop the ball, but kind of not have that extreme level of attention there. So it's just unfortunate to kind of see that happen. But you mentioned Cassie Lang. I'm curious, what are some of the characters that you really connected with, if any?
Definitely. I feel like Cassie for one, just
Mhm.
because I think it's because we're both relative in age, and I easily connect with people that are relatively my age, just because I feel like I can relate to them. But also like, kind of like in the end when Paul Rudd was like overthinking, I kind of like I was like, oh yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like I felt really connected through that. Not really through like any of like the storyline or anything, just like person to person.
Yeah.
More sort of, yeah.
I think, yeah, that's great. And I think for me, I think the two that really stood out for me were, I love Cassie, she was great, but I love Paul Rudd as Scott Lang or Ant-Man. He's just great. He's just a charmer, you know, he's really fun. And I really appreciate how this movie kind of doubled down on the idea that he's a father first. And that's kind of what his storyline has been about throughout the three movies. You know, he's a criminal, he's kind of an avenger, he's a jokester, but at the core of it, it's always about him connecting with his daughter. And I really appreciated that they doubled down on that here. But then the other character that I really liked was Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
He's the big villain. He's been hyped up through trailers and through outside marketing, but then in the film too, he's super hyped up. The introduction is kind of very drawn out. And I think that he was played really well by Jonathan Majors, who was a little melodramatic at points, but I can stomach that for a character like this who works on such a grand scale. And he was great. I just wanted a little more of him, honestly. I think it kind of set him up. It did its job in like setting him up and introducing him to us, and I think he's going to be the next big phase villain. But I wanted more out of him. I wanted him to really kind of pack a punch with his introduction, and it kind of almost felt like a little bit of a generic Marvel villain entrance for me. I don't know, what about you?
Yeah, no, same. It felt really short for me, his introduction. I feel like there was so much more that he could have done, or like just more written into it to really give it like that powerful introduction that Marvel honestly sometimes does. But other than that, it kind of fell short for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those characters are really a core element of the story that's going to get you grounded there in the film. And that's probably why it lost a lot of us and a lot of our friends too when we were seeing it, is that there were really few characters to really fully connect with. Like even Michelle Pfeiffer, who's a phenomenal actress, like I wasn't really, connecting with her at all, or, hoping for her to get out of the situation she was in, or, find her family. It just, kind of got lost on me. And even the new characters that they introduced, they had some great actors, like William Jackson Harper. He's a favorite of mine, and he had a little role in this film, but is, played for laughs. And that kind of also brings me to another point where the MCU humor is really getting
it's
kind
so
of
bad,
getting so extreme to a point where it's so kind of an eye-rolling moment. Like it's either the repetitive sentences where you're saying the same sentence like 10 times and that's where the humor is supposed to come from, or it's just like making a funny quip in the middle of a serious situation, or a deadly battle. And it's just, I'm kind of getting lost with it. I know they have a formula that Marvel has, achieved and done well by, but I'm looking for them to shake things up a little bit. I think they really didn't do that too well here.
I agree, yeah. I like a lot of the lines that I would usually find funny, had this come out years ago, I would have been like, oh, that's so funny, and even laugh about it days after, but the humor is honestly falling short.
Yeah.
They're just relying too much on what they've already done, because they think it's going to pull them forward, but they're just falling short.
Absolutely, yeah. So what do you think about for the future of these? This is kind of the introduction to Phase 5. What do you think is going to be going on with these characters in the future? How do you think are we going to be getting them back? Are we getting more of kind of a little more Kang? Or what direction do you think the MCU is going to go with this? Because the critical reception has been a little negative too outside of here. So I'm curious what they're going to take from this and try to move forward, or what they're going to try to kind of leave behind.
I think they might take Cassie Lang forward, because now she's older, she has a suit and everything. She demonstrated that she sort of knows what she's doing, so maybe they're gonna kind of do sort of a Spider-Man sort of thing and try to build her up, and then have her, I don't know, maybe join the Avengers or something.
Yeah, that'd be a great time. And her, and then I'm looking forward for a little more Kang, and I'm excited to see maybe how they kind of take the reaction from this film, maybe mold his character a little bit to give him more of a wider appeal. But yeah, so we've talked about what we haven't really liked, maybe a little bit about what we've liked, but now it's come down to the ratings. So what are you going to give this out of a final score out of 10?
Give it a solid 5.
Solid 5.
Solid
okay.
5, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Overall, I just didn't really enjoy it. Kind of walked out very disappointed. A couple moments that I liked. Paul Rudd and Jonathan Majors did great. A couple nice CGI shots there. But overall, just not a really great film for me. So I'm going to go with a solid 4 out of 10 for Ant-Man Quantumania. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.